Hey guys, Mass Mechanics here and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to crank on our 4x4 S10 build, the super cheap S10. And our Corvette parts did come in, so we're going to start hitting that hard for next week and try to get that transmission built and hopefully in the car. Stay tuned. Now we're under the hood. As you can see, you got some nice air vents here. Let's see if you can see. Oh yeah, here's my hand through the other side. These are your wheel wells. Wheel wells here. They're real, yeah, not much of a wheel well. You gotta get those. Looks like somebody's already done most of the fuel lines and the brake lines from what I could see when I did the fuel filter, but once the bed's off, we'll see a lot better. This side's rotted too. It's hard to tell. I mean, you can see big, huge Bondo patch here. The inner fender's all mangled and pieced together. Looks like there's two inner fenders stuck together here. Not really sure what that's about. Figure it out. You see somebody put a new starter in it. I mean, it's definitely rusty. The control arms are nasty, so we'll probably have to address that. And we'll not address it conventionally. We're going to address it in a fun way. That's going to make it something you guys are going to want to see. Because we're not going to be just repairing the junk that's here. We're going to make it our own, make it very capable in the woods, and make it a fun vehicle to own. So you can take a free truck like this, or a couple $100 truck that's a real piece of garbage. This thing didn't run. Threw a distributor in it, and with several-year-old gas, 5-6 years, fired right up. Filled it with 93. I didn't even have an air cleaner for it. It didn't come with one, so I had this in the shed and threw it on. They fit good enough. It hits here, but it doesn't matter. Won't hurt anything. We're going to talk 350 swaps in case anybody's interested in these old school trucks, because these things are around. You can find these old trucks. They're all over the place, and they're really cheap, and they're really fun. And you know what? I really enjoy these, and I know a lot of other people do too. So it's going to be a quick little series on throwing together a fun truck that a lot of people can really enjoy. A lot of people can have access to these. They're all over. You can get them on Marketplace, Craigslist, wherever you want. And you're not forking out 15, 20 grand for something. You know, with a couple $1,000 mod-wise, you can have this truck be awesome and really fun and capable. So, yeah, stay tuned, and we're going to keep moving on it. After about an hour and a half of driving to different places, we found a few parts for the S10. A couple $100. Not bad. That's why these trucks are so good to work with. They're so cheap. All these parts. These are all factory parts. Not in bad shape. A lot better than what we got. So let's get to work with them. To take the door off, real simple. You got two screws right here. And then you got the door handle to pop off. And then the rest of it's just push clips. Two screws out and that slides right off. Then this thing, you just pick up one of these at the parts store, dirt cheap. Usually the clips are right on this side. Get that unclipped. Now you just pull. You might have to pull this trim off too by the look of it, but let's see if we can. There we go. Now, I took the door panel off only because I'm reusing it. Otherwise, I would have just left it on and threw the whole thing away. But we also got to pull out the lock cylinder out of this door and swap it over so our locks match again. That's a quick job too. But really, the only thing holding on these S10 doors is a pin here, which I knocked halfway out, and a pin there, which you can see is halfway out. With the door out of the way, you can start seeing some more of the mess. This is all scabbed together. Rocker panel is really nice. We'll swap this out. Everything's going to be done on the cheap here, like I said, so I can show you guys how to make something fun for dirt cheap. Here's one of the not as bad junk doors that is on here. Definitely presentable. Got a little ding in the bottom there, I'll straighten out. A little bit of rust starting on the pinch weld, but overall fits much better. Now, this fender's way off, as you can see, but the depth of the door is dramatically better than what was on there, because the other door was all cut apart. So this door is all original, so it's in much, much better condition. So now we got to get this fender off, and we do need to get a bushing kit for these pins. They're dirt cheap. You can get them at most part stores, under 10 bucks probably. So that's what we got to work with, because right now you'll see it drop. Watch this. Now, see the difference in the body line? So you drop like a half an inch. So we got to address that. No biggie. It's just there's these little pins here, and there's bushings. You got 2 bushings in the door side here, and then 2 bushings on the truck side up here. And that's it. You just swap those out with the new pins, and it takes away the wear, so you don't have to worry quite so much. And that's it. It's pretty simple. Because right now you can see it. And it doesn't latch very good. Took the grill off. A couple of screws. Not bad. We had to get to the bolts for the fender here. You can see. Get that out. And you got to take them out on this side. I mean, to take a grill off, it's pretty simple. There's just a few of these little screws here and here. That one is right here, see? And then you got to take the little parking lights out. And that's it. I think it's supposed to have more screws than that, but that's all this sweet ride had, so that's what we're going to work with. So we'll get the fender off. Alright, so now we got the hood off because we couldn't get to the fender bolts without taking the cowl cover off here. And to get to that, you just take one of the bolts off, I think it's this one, for the fender. On each side, take the hood off, and then this piece comes right off. And then there's another fender bolt right here that you got to get out. So that wasn't too bad. That all came apart pretty easy, and if this rusty pile can come apart, I believe anybody's could. So that's good. We got that off. I'm just going to keep plugging away. Now we're starting to see some serious damage. What gave it away to me before I even took this thing apart was, if you notice, the trim here is buckled. That usually means that the cab dropped that much. About, what is that, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, say? And the cab mount on the frame side was not right. And I looked under there, and somebody welded like a 2x4 square tubing underneath. Well, there's your 2x4 square tubing as it fell through the floor. And you can see the big hole there, and then somebody half-ass patched it right there. And then to put this on, they used a wood screw. This is a broken screw. And then these are like the square deck screws that are totally rotted and stripped. So we're going to drill these 2 out and then get it out of the way. And when we put the new rocker in, hopefully we'll be able to figure out what we're going to change then. This is the kind of patchwork you see done that is all the negative stuff people talk about. I mean, clearly the cab's going to drop right through when you patch it with trash like this. Nothing's welded. There's just like wood screws everywhere. I mean, I can literally pull the patch up with my hand. I didn't loosen anything. Just garbage. Absolute trash. I mean, it's pretty pathetic when you think about it. If I can take a floor patch like this with my hands and just rip it off. That's supposed to hold the cab up with all the weight of the cab and the fenders and everything. And it just doesn't make sense. So what we got to do is we got to jack it up. When I get my floor piece in, we'll patch it. We'll fix the mount point. And then the truck will actually sit properly up here. And we'll clean up all this rot and get rid of it and put nice steel. You know, it honestly, if you have any inkling of welding at all, you could probably get this done in an hour, maybe 2 at most. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to waste your time with all this caulking and screws and rivets. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You waste more time fooling around than just learning how to do it right. And it does a lot more damage in the end. So then you get a junk instead of something you can work with. But for us, it's not a big deal. We'll just dress it and take care of it. So the cab has dropped down about 2 inches now. As you can see, here's our really nice wheel well. It just ripped out of the bolt here. Everything that's here that holds it in is all ripped out because it's so rotten. So all we're working on now is getting one last bolt out up here, and then we'll rip that out, and we got some new ones coming. I believe they're $25. Yeah, brand new, shipped to the house. It just doesn't make sense why somebody would put a new fender on and leave this rusty thing here. When it's $25 to replace it, and then the new fender they put on is all rotted now because it was mated right up against this. It just doesn't make sense. So, but that's the way people do things, you know. And if you can look from this angle, once the fender's out, the inner fender's out of the way, you'll see better. But that's our hole from the other side. And here is our nasty rocker somebody put spray foam in, which we're going to have to cut out when we put the new rocker on. That burns out pretty nice, so don't have to worry about it. But here's our 2x4 square tubing that they didn't paint or anything, that rotted through the floor. So we'll jack it up, and then we'll fix the floor, and we'll fix this mount and get rid of this trash and put the proper stuff back in, and it'll work just fine. It's just, you know, more of that nonsense stuff I was talking about. You know, you waste more time doing it wrong than if you just do it right the first time, because then you end up with this mess. And it really probably only took a year or two for it to actually fall through. And the other issue you're going to see is that this body line still lines up. And what that usually means is that the bed is that messed up too, that it dropped. And there's some surprises under there once we rip the bed off, where I'll show you that they used garden stakes rather than the normal bed braces across the bottom. I don't understand who would have done that. But we'll just throw another bed on. They go for like $200 to $300 for a decent one. I mean, the stuff is so cheap, it's just buy another one. That's what's the name of this game, is the cheap truck rebuild. So we removed our floor patch out of this heater duct that they use for like buildings and stuff. I don't know who would use this, like HVAC technician maybe or something. I don't know. Anyways, I took this screw out here, if you can see, very hardy screw, and then I was able to, with my hand, pull all this right off. Oh, and then there was this one too, this wood screw, and that was your whole patch for the floor. So I'll show you what the inside of the truck looks like. So here's our big hole. Now I got the new floor pan coming, so it's not a big deal. We'll just weld it in properly, jack it up, cut this 2x4 trash out of here that's all rotted, and rebuild the cab mount. Really simple, easy job, but somebody thought that they were MacGyver, I guess, and thought they could really make something special here. But this is what happens. And it does a lot of damage when your cab drops like this. I'll show you, just to give you an idea. Now that the inner fender's out of the way, you can see, look at this brake line. It's hitting the frame and rubbing. You can see where it's been rubbing for a while. Just imagine you're driving down the road and you half-heartedly put your cab together. I got to use proper language here. And then your brakes just let go because you foolishly did it like this. It just doesn't make sense. Like I said, you run into more problems doing it wrong than if you just took the time to do it right. So just that's my lesson for today. Battery out. Now we're just taking the bolts out for the battery box. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, maybe upside down, I'll let you see it. Made in Taiwan. There you go. This inner fender actually looks fairly good. I don't know until we get it off to really look. But compared to the other side, this thing's magical. So we'll see what it looks like when it's off. But so far, so good. We're getting there. I'll keep you guys posted. Once we get this fender off, we can take a look and see what we're working with. Antenna. All you do is you put a thing on it, a socket. I believe it was 17 mil, and just twist it off. I didn't even have to use a ratchet. Just did it by hand. And then you drop it down through, and then this part of the fender's off. Now we're working on getting the bolts out down there, just like on the other side. And this thing's ready to come off. Unhook the radiator overflow here. I got my nice stopper in. That's all set. This is from the old plow that we tore off. It was hooked up really well. You can see here's our fusible link all rotted inside with no fuse. And then a wire that was not hooked up. So just ripped it out from inside the cab and just yanked on it until it just fell off of the electrical tape in the end. So that was that. So yeah, we're getting there. Pretty soon we're going to be coming in here. We're going to start addressing this side of the floor. I'm going to take a look. Here's my nice, awesome impact that doesn't take any bolts off. And here's my impact that takes any bolt off you put at it. And if it doesn't take it off, it rips it off. So that's a good tool for sure. And we got some more caulk over here, as you can see. This guy loved his caulk. He liked to smear it all over everything and rub it on everything. There's caulk everywhere. Beautiful. This one actually has rivets though, which is a first. No wood screws this time, but I guess he got tired and forgot to do this end because it's not even attached. So we'll rip this off in a few minutes once we get that fender out of the way and the inner fender out. So that's fun. You can see there's more caulk he rubbed all over there. I mean, the guy really loved caulk. There's no doubt about it. He just loved it. Even the shims for the fender, I'll show you that. That's really nice. Instead of using the horseshoe shims here on a bolt, like most people would ever do, we just globbed it with some more caulk to hold them in. See, nice caulk everywhere. Instead of just putting them on the bolt like you're supposed to. It makes it a little bit more fun, I guess, if you could use your caulk and rub it on it. So, all right, as you can hear, more rot coming through. So let's keep going. Well, it started to rain, so we ended up calling it for a while. We threw the hood on just to keep the engine from getting soaking wet. This is one of the junk fenders that's not too bad that we got. Looks pretty good. This is actually a really good door. There's almost no issue at all with it. Just a little bit on the seam, but it's really a straight, perfect door. And it's a good example now to show you how much the cab has dropped. Because you got a good fender that hasn't been fooled with, and a really good door. I mean, look, if you can see, it's really tight here. And then there's a huge gap in the bottom. That's how much the cab dropped. So now that we have straight panels, we can actually see how much it's dropped. And I'll show you on the other side too. It's even more apparent. You can see it's really pretty tight up here. It doesn't look it on camera, but the fender's not perfectly adjusted either. But then it gets wider and wider and wider all the way down. So first thing we got to really do is get this cab sitting at the proper height when we fix the floor pan and get the body mounts all straightened out. Then we can go from there and really address everything. But until then, we can't really hang anything because we don't know where our body lines are supposed to be. But this, at least now everything's covered up again to keep the weather out, and all the old junk is pretty much off. And that's about all we can do for now. I'll show you that floor over here where we had it all riveted on. Another block of some kind they used here. This is just rusty garbage, you can see. But it's another nice hole that they just tried to cover up with their caulk here and tin for HVAC system, you know. I don't know. Whatever. We got it all ripped out, so now it's time to start putting decent stuff in. And I got a line in the bed, so I got to go pick that up pretty soon. I mean, listen to the way that door closes already. It's that much better. But our parts for our Corvette build are coming. They should be here today. This is minus the Gatorade and juice boxes. This is one pile of parts for the Vet. So our next video is going to be building the transmission. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe so we can keep going and growing with this channel. You can also check us out on Instagram. We're the Mass Mechanics.